So many of you are out there running, which I can only assume is you training for the zombie apocalypse, which is for sure coming in 2020, the way things have been going. Why else would you be running? But I want to talk quickly today about making sure that you're running with good form, which is going to allow you to do two things. Number one, it's going to make you faster. Number two, it's going to make sure you don't get any injuries. So when we're running, there's really two forms that we see people run. Well, there's a lot more than two, but two really common things. The first is we see where people are running with their hip flexors, and that looks like this. And you can see my feet sort of skate along the floor, right? Compare that now with using their hamstring to run, which looks like me pulling my feet away from the ground. So that's the first thing, is when we run, we want to get to a place where we're using those hamstrings, we're pulling the feet away from the ground instead of skating along it. So what we do, or what we can do to practice that, is we want to do what's called a pose pull. And it's called a pose pull because you're trying to achieve this figure four position where my ankle is crossing over my shin, okay? And so what we can do is just pull maybe 10 times on the left leg and 10 times on the right leg. And just imagine somebody has a string that goes to your heel and it's just getting pulled right up underneath your butt. So we want to move in a nice straight line. You can put your hand here on your hamstring, and that's just to help cue. This is the muscle that we want to fire in order to get that heel to pull up underneath my butt. Now, when I combine that pull with a lean forward of my body, and when I say lean forward with my body, I don't mean take my chest and bend at the hip, right? We want to make sure we're keeping our chest tall. What I mean instead is we're going to lean forward at the ankle. So my whole body gets at this angle. And that is how we dictate our speed. So the further forward I lean, the faster I run. The more upright I am, the slower I'll be. So if I start doing these pose pulls, and then I make them go a little bit faster, so I'm jogging in place, now as soon as I lean forward, you can see that I start to make my way across the floor. Now there's one more thing we need to think about, and that is making sure that we match how high we're pulling our feet versus how far we're leaning forward. So the only time you would pull your foot all the way up to your butt, although it's a good drill to practice to make sure you're firing the right muscle, is if we were in a full-on sprint. For a jog or a run, we're really only coming a few inches up our ankle, so it'll be about a pull to about here. Same muscle is pulling, but if I just do that in place, I lean forward. Now we're using the right musculature. We are using our ankle or our foot as a cushion like it's designed. We're not heel striking, which is going to save us a lot of injury and going to make you faster. So work on nice fast turnover, work on that lean forward, work on pulling with those hamstrings. I promise you it will make a huge difference. Personal story, I used to be a heel strike runner. I switched over to this method of pose running when I was still in the Marine Corps, and we would have to run 3 miles for time. My time went from 21:30 to 18:30. This is the only change I made. Try it.